Well, hi everybody. Welcome to the chat. We are on our third live stream, and we just kind of had the first big day of Gen Con and the keynote address. I remember just a few days ago, I kind of wasn't thinking it was going to be that big of a deal. Well, hi everybody. But I am super happy. We are on our third live stream, and on how well it turned out, how much actually occurred, and kind of a little bit more on what actually happened. Sorry, I just had a little bit of an echo there, so I wanted to get rid of that. But it kind of definitely was much more than I thought it would be. And so I thought we could kind of go over a little bit of it and see what we had. And then the other big thing I wanted to cover today is I had not even really looked at the new big thing that came out, which was the Starfinder field test, as well as the news that basically Pathfinder and Starfinder will be interoperable in 2025. And maybe we can start using more and more things from Starfinder and Pathfinder and Starfinder as things kind of go on, simply because of how much interplay there's going to be between them, and I'm super happy for that. But with all that being said, let's kind of cover just some of the basics of the stuff. I already did like a 25-minute summary, so I'm not going to re-summarize the whole entire keynote, but I thought maybe we could cover just a little bit of it and see kind of where we're going. So just to kind of start out, we'll do with some upcoming projects and stuff that will be coming down the line. Now, the big thing that kind of came out this year for Pathfinder was Rage of Elements and the remastered. We've heard kind of quite a bit about both, and especially Rage of Elements, which, by the way, let me grab it. I finally got my Rage of Elements books, so I'm pretty happy for that. But, and so I can finally start reading it. I really haven't gone too much into it yet, but the Kineticist class and how it basically brought two more planes in, which is metal and wood. The Kineticist class is definitely the showpiece of Rage of Elements, and it's a very in-depth class. A bunch of new spells, a bunch of new items, a bunch of new creatures, as well as genies and geniekin are coming in. And then also the remaster. Once again, we've heard a bit about the core preview and some of those things that are going on there, as well as the rearrangement of player core and GM core, and how the GM core is going to kind of encompass everything that was in kind of the combination book, which was the old, basically, player's handbook, which had a lot of GM stuff in it, but now it's going to be collected in one place, make it more accessible for new players, as well as kind of collecting all that GM information so you don't have to go to so many different places in order to try to find information. And then the big thing that came out of this, personally for me anyways, is, and I know I've seen it in the comments on a few of the videos, which is basically new character sheets. New character sheets are a big deal, especially with the remaster, especially with Kineticist, especially with apparently two new classes that are coming out into playtest that's going to be starting. I believe they said September 2nd, but we'll get information on September 1st. I saw that in print somewhere. Not the September 2nd thing, the September 1st thing I saw in print somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure. But all that being said, let's kind of get back on topic, because I can kind of go off on tangents if I'm not careful. Anyways, these two fully remastered player classes that have not appeared in Pathfinder in any way before. Super excited to find out what those are. In addition to knowing that at least in 2025, we'll be able to start playing Starfinder things in Pathfinder and Pathfinder things in Starfinder. I'm probably going to repeat that a few times during this little segment, but it's just because there's so much good information kind of going on there. Then we did, High Helm, Sky King's Tomb. Both of those are already out, especially the first book of Sky King's Tomb, and I actually have that sitting behind there too, but hadn't had a chance to read it yet because I've been kind of getting ready for some things here and kind of looking at my notes over here. So if that's why I'm looking over to the side. However, a lot of the things that Luis Losa and John Compton were talking about were basically the setting and the theme, and how High Helm is a unique place, how it is not just for dwarves, how other players can start in there, can play in there, can live their lives in there, including NPCs, whatever. Your ancestry doesn't matter so much. It is just a dwarven focused type city. They asked for some spoilers. There were some spoilers, although maybe not as good as some of the other ones we heard today. I don't want to say that. It depends on what your focus is. They're just as good. For me, it didn't quite reach the level of some of the other spoilers, but that would be that basically Sky King's Tomb is kind of like an urban sandbox, and you can spend a lot of your time. You could spend whole sessions, weeks, months, years going through the drama of High Helm and Dwarven life. What is your reputation? What inspires you? You start out as unknowns in the city, and then you get opportunities to show who you are. And we had this example back in PaizoCon as well, but the Stickleberry Festival, and you could become the Stickleberry Sovereign, kind of like the prom queen of the Stickleberry Festival, or the winning the Stickleberry pie eating contest. And then Luis's spoiler was that there are some story hooks within High Helm, and that during this upcoming High Helm panel that we're going to have and Sky King Tomb panel, we'll be looking at some of the concept work that was used for Lost Home and High Helms. Kent Hamilton fleshed out a lot of the look of the 12 clans, and there's just little bits that kind of bring the clans together. And the concept art we'll be able to see that was used before High Helm became published. Organized play, there's a lot going on of organized play. I personally am really looking forward to the launch of the Year of Unfettered Exploration. That is especially the intro and 5-02, which is Blackwood Lost. Those are the ones that I'm going to start jamming at my local gaming store. So I'm really looking forward to those. There's a lot of stuff going on both Starfinder and Pathfinder side. You can go to gencon.com/online, sign up for an online ticket, and you can participate in some of these online games. I also mentioned that they are going to be at PAX this year as well. So there'll be demo of new board games at PAX. There are also some teases for organized play later this year. Starfinder Society was Desert Racing and Ghost Ships, and Pathfinder Society was Arcadia and An Accursed Dollhouse. And then they did this little signal. I kind of did it in a video, and you'll see it where they kind of did this. Oh, there's images, or signal from space. And basically, this is where they dropped the big news, which is the Starfinder 2nd Edition. 100% compatible with Pathfinder Remaster. All content will be slottable seamlessly. Basically, they're giving out kind of like a free field test, which is what we're going to be going over here in a minute. And in this field test, basically, it has the first 5 levels for Soldier, as well as some feats, some items, some creatures, and you can actually kind of slot those creatures into Pathfinder 2nd Edition now. Super excited for that. They also brought up some new classes, which is, once again, the Soldier. We had the Mystic, we had the Envoy, and they also brought up a new ancestry as well as a new class. And that new class was Solarian. I don't know too much about it, only that it was a summer party 90s vibe and a future retro. So a whole bunch of good stuff there. And that is pretty much a lot of the remaster. Once again, I do have a summary for it, which is about 25 minutes long. And then the actual Twitch stream is 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I do actually suggest you go ahead and watch that. And I'm super excited for that. Can't wait to see what we're going to be getting as Starfinder comes out. But with that, we're going to go ahead and switch over to Starfinder here after about a minute break. I need to check something real quick, because I think I might be having an audio issue, but give me 1 second and then we'll go ahead and get into the Starfinder section. Okie dokie, I'm back. I think I have that figured out, but now we're kind of into the new Starfinder plight. Let me try and speak that again. Unfortunately, with the live, I can't edit that out. So now we're getting into the Starfinder playtest. You can go ahead and find this, Paizo.com Starfinder playtest. Super easy to find. I believe you can actually bring up my notes real quick. Only reason I'm bringing these notes up real quick is because you can actually just go to starfinderplaytest.com itself in order to redirect yourself to this URL. So starfinderplaytest.com will take you here as well. You can go here and you can see one of their new symbols, and that's kind of how they open the trailer. And you can see the trailer on Twitter and tons of other places right now. Open it with a 3-action economy. I had not really gotten into Starfinder before, so I didn't quite realize it didn't have a 3-action economy. Kind of weird, but super thrilled that it is coming in, because I have one of the GMs that I play with is super into Starfinder. He is so hyped about this, and it kind of makes me want to try it now, even maybe just a society, or hopefully with this particular remaster coming out for Starfinder, maybe a new beginner's box, a new adventure, or maybe just try Starfinder Society out once this remaster comes out, or heck, just use I might just use the playtest to give it a shot. But go through this website, they have the a release of the Starfinder field test. It's a little bit different than the playtest files, simply because these field tests and these little snippets of information that they're going to be giving out aren't the full-on experience. It is pretty much just piece of information until we start the play test. I say we? Once again, that's kind of like the royal we. But until the play test actually starts in 2024. And once again, this will get released in 2025. So, matter of fact, here it says August 2024. You can go ahead and click on this link and download the field test. I already have it downloaded, so we're not going to go there. But you can also go to the forum. They had mentioned during the keynote address when they were talking about this Starfinder 2nd Edition remaster section that they're going to be dropping little bits of things in the forum. So I don't necessarily go to the Starfinder forums that much. I go to the Pathfinder forums all the time, but I don't go to the Starfinder forums that much. I might need to start. All that being said, they also have a playtest FAQ, so you can find out more information. We could take a look at that real quick. The basics of the new edition, why publish a new edition, why no more first. So there's a whole, I'm not going to go through all these questions. I will leave this. It's in an easy enough format for you guys to kind of go check out yourself. Is Starfinder in trouble? Okay. I just wanted to see that. The playtest process. What is the open playtest? Why announce it so early? Oh yeah, they did mention that they want this playtest to be the most open. I think I said during the summary video as the most open playtest in Paizo's history. I believe it's the most open playtest in history, might have been the exact quote. But gameplay, compatibility, setting, and organized play, all that's fantastic. But what we're actually kind of here to see is we are kind of here to see the field test. So if you click on this link, it'll take you here to the Starfinder field test. I did flip through these pages. There's not that many of them. Once again, it's 13 pages, but I just really wanted to see what's in here, but I wanted to wait for the stream because I wanted something to kind of go over here with you guys and, give some real live impressions of how everything rolls out. So we kind of have this starting out. Once again, some of the stuff that's in the FAQ, I'm sure is in this particular first page here. Field test 1 is about getting some of our work in progress content into your hands. So I'm not going to read all of these word for word. That would be super boring, and I'm sure you guys can do that. But based on what they were saying during the actual presentation at the keynote itself, it kind of just to summarize, this kind of says some of the things they were saying there. Level 1 to 5 snapshot of one of our classes, which is the soldier. They did have the artwork, and the artwork, I believe, is here in a slightly better. Actually, the other one might be better. The other one's more of a sketch look. But this is basically the soldier class, apparently. and I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I'm sure I pronounced it wrong during the summary, and I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong here. But Oboizaya is a character from first level, and apparently this is an evolution of the look from first edition to second edition. Still super cool looking. So let's go ahead and look at the soldier. And they did mention that it's not quite a space fighter, like, a Pathfinder version of a fighter. They were saying that it does area of effect type guns and weapons. So let's kind of take a look at it. So master of area weapons, heavy armor, taking punishment. I did mention that this is more of a tank class. Stand in the thick of battle and unleash devastating salvos against your foes while taking withering fire in return. Barrages of suppressing fire with powerful weapons. You set your allies up to fulfill their respective roles while encouraging enemies to focus on you. Kind of the epitome of a tank if you've ever played World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV or any other MMORPG ever. This looks like a tank. Looks like a tank, smells like a tank. Key attribute, not strength, as a tank. Key attribute is constitution, so your hit points are 10 plus your constitution modifier to start out. Fighter-ish, but in the hit points, not so in the key attribute. During combat encounters, you set yourself up for the battlefield to rain down fire with heavy weapons. Looking at the picture, this is a tank. I was wondering if maybe they had like back-mounted, shoulder-mounted things. Doesn't quite look like it here, but once again, this is just an image, not all the items. We'll see a little bit more as we go through. Social encounters, you stand back, let others do the talking, basically doing the damage, while you provide support with the threat of your weaponry and sheer bulk. Sometimes you might surprise others with an insightful take while exploring. So you're the front of the group guy. You are kind of the meat shield, if you want to call it that, and weathering any foes or hazards that appear along the way. Position yourself so you can take advantage of the weaponry, but also act as a shield for your allies. Sounds like a tank. Downtime. Long and exhausting jobs. You might take time to retrain certain things you've learned or tinker with your heavy weapons and procure new ammunition upgrades. I did the hand wave, and that's just in my head. What I meant by that is, I just hit my microphone. I apologize for that. What I meant by that is what you'd expect. Nothing specifically interesting in there. You might employ your heavy weapons to take with the brunt of enemies' attention in combat, so you are trying to distract the enemy to focus on you. Rush forward into danger, knowing that your sheer bulk and endurance will see you through. Make dangerous gambits while employing your area of effect weapons, either putting yourself or your allies in danger. Make dangerous gambits. So, as my thought and what I'm thinking in my head right now as I'm reading that statement is, as a tanks are usually not a gambit type player. So I'd be interested to see when they release the iconics, or actually when we start looking through some of the features here, how the gambit thing plays in, because that is one thing that's a little bit odd to me. But let's move on. Others rely on you to take the lead and absorb incoming fire. Assume there's not much more to you than wielding big weapons and taking a beating, and appreciate what your presence alone brings to the negotiating table. You are the intimidating guy in the background while the face of your party goes ahead and does the negotiations, tries to be sly, tries to lie, tries to influence people, make an impression, all of those wonderful little things. And your proficiencies, list of proficiency ranks in the following statistics. Untrained in anything not listed, nothing. Major there, train in perception, so you get the base level, not an expert. Makes sense, it's a tank. Saving throws, expert in fortitude, expected. Trained in reflex. It's not dex based, you're there to get hit, so makes sense. Trained in will. Makes sense. I'm assuming this isn't a super wisdom based or intelligence based, so it makes sense. Skills, trained in intimidation. Totally on brand for a tank. Trained in a number of additional skills equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier. I'm going to assume, based on P2E, that sounds pretty basic. Unlike a rogue or something that gets additional abilities or a high intelligence base class. That sounds about right. Attacks, train in simple weapons, train in martial weapons, train in unarmed attacks. Train in all armor, train in unarmored defense. I almost expected maybe an expert in that, but in all armor, or at least a level of armor, but we'll see as you go up. and class DC, train and soldier class DC. I don't know what that means, but let's find out. Once again, this is 1 through 5. Ancestry and background initial proficiencies. Okay. Skill feat, soldier feat. Soldier feat being the class feat. Fearsome bulwark. I don't know what that is yet. General feat and skill. So this is the same progression Pathfinder. 4th level skill feat and class feat. 5th level ancestry feat, attribute boosts, skill increase, soldier weapon mastery. Once again, kind of expecting armor mastery, but I am not a balance TTRPG designer, so, and Pathfinder really is, or Paizo's very good at the balance, so, this is a field test. So class features, you gain these abilities as a soldier, abilities gained at higher levels. List the level at which you gain them next to the features' names. Ancestry and background. Okay, initial, I'll mention these things as I'm going rather than just kind of, and making noises, but ancestry and background, this makes sense rather than just kind of reading it to you. Initial proficiencies, 1st level, name, okay, represent your basic training. So there's a little bit of a mini background for why you would have the training. So that makes sense. Noted at the start of the class, which is the 3 up here, which was the 3 plus your intelligence modifier. Attribute boosts. You have 4 free boosts to different attribute modifiers. Okay. At 5th level and every 5 levels, you boost 4. Is already +4 or higher. It takes 2 boosts to increase it. So this is kind of what we were talking about in the remaster, the core preview for Pathfinder, was they had a little checkbox in the new character sheets for partial boost. This is the partial boost. So rather than going to 19, you'd be a +4 checkbox partial boost because the numbers aren't going to exist anymore. You must boost that attribute again at a later level to increase it by 1. Makes sense? So suppressing fire. You have a knack for using powerful weapons to hinder your foes and prevent them from operating at their peak. If you make an attack with a weapon that has an area trait, you use it in a manner that suppresses your targets. Creatures in the affected area who fail their save against your attack become suppressed. Interesting. New condition suppressed. Suppressed target takes a -1 circumstance penalty on attack rolls and takes a 5-foot status penalty with speed. I like it. New condition is suppressed. You have been affected by a high volume incoming fire. Yeah, I really do want to see. I just saw that, Jefferson. I appreciate that. But yes, I want to see those no character sheets so much. It's one of my highlights if you really want to know. Anyway, suppressed. You have been affected by a high volume of incoming fire or potentially dangerous attack that forces you to act less efficiency for your own safety. You take a -1 circumstance penalty on the attack and a 5-foot status penalty to your speed, which we just mentioned up here. So you as a soldier can go ahead and impose this suppressed condition. I like it a lot. And remember, if Starfinder 2nd Edition is backwards compatible with Pathfinder 2nd Edition or interoperable and vice versa, suppressed should be coming to Pathfinder. Primary target, you make an attack with an area of effect weapon, which the soldier class is supposed to be specialized in. Such as from area of fire, auto fire actions, you can choose to make a ranged attack roll against a single creature, either adjacent, center point of the attack, or the closest within a cone or line. Instead of requiring the creature to make a save, if 2 or more creatures are closest and equidistant, you can choose which one is your primary target. Other creatures within the area of effect must save against the effect as normal. If you successfully hit your primary target, the target is suppressed until the start of the next turn. Once again, bring up that new condition suppressed and suppressing fire. Fighting styles. So these would kind of maybe be the monk's stances or something along those lines for other classes. Armor Storm. Armor Storm, like an extension of your skin, and you're able to leverage it alongside the heavy weapons you employ. Foes you suppress quickly stumble when attempting to overcome your durability, granting you an edge in absorbing their incoming firepower. Move to the forefront and focus your enemy's attention on yourself. The tank that they were talking about. You never count as being in the area of a ranged weapon you've made an attack with. In addition, you gain resistance equal to half your level against attacks made from suppressed targets. That's a good style. Bombard. Nothing like a reliable heavy gun, or maybe several different types of heavy guns, to get you through the tough times adventuring in space. Come to terms with the fact that your weapons might sometimes... I lost my little spot. Might sometimes hit your allies, but work to minimize such instances with unintentional friendly fire. In fact, you honed your skill with heavy weapons so much that all but the most indirect of strikes causes your opponents to duck down or force them to adapt to the havoc you unleashed. So when you attack with an area weapon, this is the gist of it, I guess. You attack with an area weapon, you adjust the shot to allow allies to better avoid it so that you don't hit your allies as much. Decrease the DC by 2 for any allies who need to make a save. So that's good. They get a basic +2 or it's a -2 to the DC. In addition, enemies who succeed but not critically succeed their save against area of attack they're still suppressed. So once again, we get to this new condition, suppressed, from Starfinder. Once again, I am really liking hearing, especially this new condition, and every time I'm seeing it, I'm kind of highlighting it simply because if Starfinder 2nd Edition is interoperable with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, that's something Pathfinder might be getting as well. Close quarters. This is one of the last fighting style for a soldier. When you have the necessary training to employ heavy weapons, you've learned that it's important to keep a backup for when foes get too close. You're able to easily switch between long range and close combat, allowing you better stand your ground when you need to, defend your allies in a tricky situation. Blows with heavy close combat weapons punish your foes just as effectively as... Okay. When you successfully make a strike with a two-handed melee weapon, you suppress the target until the start of your next turn. In addition, you gain the punitive strike reaction. So you get suppressed plus this new reaction. So that would be your foe's momentary lapse in defense gives you an opening. Make a melee strike against the triggering creature. If your attack is critical hit and the trigger was a move action, so you disrupt the move. The strike doesn't count towards your multiple attack penalty. Super important, especially with Starfinder 2nd Edition Remaster, whatever they're going to call it, is moving to the 3-action economy. And your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to this strike. Pretty darn good. Walking Armory, this is the this would be a different, this is not part of the fighting styles. So you bring the heaviest armor and largest weapons to bear, but also have the capability of carrying them all and keeping up. Determining your strength threshold for using medium or heavy armor, you can instead choose your Constitution modifier. Since Constitution modifier is the key attribute for this soldier or the tank. For the armor you're wearing, reduce the armor's bulk by 1 to a minimum of 1. In addition, increasing the amount of bulk you can carry before being encumbered by half your Constitution modifier rounded up. I like the rounded up. Increase your maximum carried bulk by your Constitution modifier rounded up. Once again, still like them rounded up. A lot of times in Pathfinder and Starfinder, I'm going to assume that you round down. So I like that. Soldier feats. These are the feats for the first 5 levels that you can get at first level, and every even numbered level, gain a soldier class feat. Okay, so you get a class feat just like Pathfinder. Skill feats, 2nd level, every 2 levels or after. Skill feat, similar. Fearsome bulwark. This is what you get at 3rd level. Your sheer mass terrifies foes when they see you. You can use your Constitution modifier instead of your Charisma modifier on intimidation checks. Important because up here you are trained in intimidation as part of being a soldier. So being able to use your Constitution instead of Charisma is a big deal since that is your key stat as a soldier. You get your skill increases at 3rd level and every 2 levels thereafter. You gain a skill increase. 7th level, increase your proficiency rank to master, just like Pathfinder. And I'm sure it's going to be at 15th level, then you can increase your proficiency rank to legendary in a skill, which you're already a master. General feats, 3rd level and every 4 levels thereafter. Okay. Ancestry feats, initial ancestry feat and 5th level and every 4 levels thereafter. So once again, just like Pathfinder. And then soldier weapon mastery, proficiency ranks for simple weapons and martial weapons increases to expert, and you gain access to critical specialization effects for weapons with the area or automatic trait. Sounds super cool. And then we have soldier feats. At every level that you gain a soldier feat, you can select one of the following feats. First level, you have Pin Down, which is a trait soldier requirements. Your last action was an attack with an area weapon. So once again, the soldier's specialization in area of effect weapons. Select one creature that was in the area of effect of your prior attack. The creature must make a save against your attack again. This effect deals no damage but can inflict the suppressed condition on a target who previously saved against it. So one action, once again, Starfinder, 2nd edition, moving to the 3-action economy. And they were talking about adding more single action things into Starfinder. So Quick Swap is a reaction. You're wielding a 2-handed weapon and a creature moves adjacent to you. So you can stow your current weapon and draw another 2-handed weapon if you have multiple sets of arms. So if you're using something that is area of effect or long range, you can move to a close range or a maybe a close combat type weapon as a reaction as soon as someone comes close to you. That sounds like a very good thing. Ready reload, single action, wielding a 2-handed ranged weapon with a reload of 2 or more, and your last action this turn was an attack action that consumed ammunition. So this allows you to reload a weapon, mastered how to do so in the middle of combat, beginning the process while still in the act of firing your weapon. So maybe as you're pulling the trigger, you're pulling something out of your waist pouch or something across your chest, bandolier. You interact and can reload your weapon twice by using Ready Reload. Sounds pretty good if you use guns. And then you have Warning Shot, which is a free action for a 1st level feat. Trigger as you roll initiative. You're wielding a weapon with the area or automatic trait. As combat begins, you unleash a quick volley with your weapon, forcing advancing foes to cower. You make an area fire or automatic fire, which is apparently on page 8, which we'll see in a second, with your weapon, and creatures in the area take no damage but must still attempt a save to avoid being suppressed. Once again, go into that suppressed, which is up here, which is the -1 circumstance penalty on attack rolls and a -5 foot status penalty to your speed, which hopefully becoming a Pathfinder because of the interoperability. One of the ones they highlighted in the actual presentation itself was Menacing Laughter, which is your laughter or suitable war cry. So for flavor, you can substitute other things. Can somehow be heard over the din of your weapon's fire. Attempt intimidation checks to demoralize each creature within 30 feet when suppressed this turn. And let me go back up here real quick. Only reason why I'm doing that is so you can use your Constitution modifier instead of your Charisma modifier on intimidation checks, which is important for the soldier because their key stat is Constitution. So that would be your +4 in Starfinder 2nd edition. So pretty powerful intimidation thing that is going towards your key stat. Relentless Endurance, which is a reaction anytime you take damage, and once per hour, you come back stronger, gain 1d8 +4 temporary hit points that last for 10 minutes. So 10 minutes in a combat is forever. And it could actually last you between encounters if there isn't a lot of healing that needs to happen in downtime. Hey, Jefferson, I will look at that in a second. We're almost there to the equipment, and I want to take a look at that. Yeah, they mentioned that they'd be going over a few guns in this, so I'm interested to see that myself. I'm kind of interested in this whole thing and bringing it up here because of the interoperability with Pathfinder 2nd edition. Guns and Gears or Outlaws or, the AP, there are things that might transfer over there pretty well. Where were we? So 1d4 every 4 levels beyond your level. And then you had 4th level Overwhelming Assault, which is you're able to overcome the defenses of suppressed foes with repeated attacks. Your multiple attack penalty for attacks against suppressed targets is -4, -3 with Agile Weapon. So you already lower it to the -4 as opposed to -5 for map, and -3 if you have an Agile, since you were already -4, on your second attack of the turn instead of -5. And so this is, once again, just something to reduce your multiple attack penalty. Punishing Salvo. Your last action this turn was a primary target strike. You make a second strike against your primary target, ignoring the effect of the unwieldy trait that prevents additional attacks. I don't know what the unwieldy trait is. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more below. This doesn't make a new area attack. Instead is treated as just a single strike against a target made in the primary target rules. Okay, so if you do an area effect attack and you were targeting a single person for the area of effect, then the second attack is just an attack, a strike against the primary target, I think. Man, I wish I knew Starfinder first edition, which I don't. But single action, and then widen area, which is manipulate trait. First one that I've seen with an additional trait. You set up your area weapon to affect more targets. If the next action you use to make an attack with an area weapon that has an area burst, cone, or line, increase the area that attack, add 5 feet to the radius of a burst that normally has a radius of at least 10, add 5 feet to the length of a cone or line that is normally 15 feet or smaller, and add 10 feet to the length of a larger cone. So something similar for spells in Pathfinder, but it's coming to Starfinder 2nd Edition Remaster as a single action. So it sounds pretty good. Do we have... I was kind of looking into that unwieldy trait. I don't see anything on there at the moment. So new equipment. I want to take a look real quick. Analog. Area, burst, cone, line. Weapons with this trait can only fire using... just so I'm not losing anybody, we're kind of over here. Because Jefferson brought up that as well, where didn't see a lot about area stuff. So let's see what we can find out. Weapons with this trait can only fire using the area fire action. Area fire action, 2 actions. You target each creature in this designated area with a range equal to the weapon's range increment for a cone or line, or the designated radius of the explosion for a burst. For a burst, you can position the center point area within your first range increment. Makes sense. Any creatures in the area must succeed at a basic reflex save against your class DC, plus the tracking value of the weapon. You don't roll an attack roll. Okay, let me reread that. Any creatures in the area must succeed at a basic reflex save against your class DC, plus the tracking value of the weapon, parentheses, you don't roll an attack roll, close parentheses. So apparently that's part of the trait. This damage is area damage. Creatures that critically fail this save are subject to the effects that occur on a critical hit with this weapon, including the weapon's critical specialization effect. So let's go down here and see weapon traits. Tech tracking. Tracking was up here with the tracking value of the weapon. Analog area, so the scattergun is an area cone. Scattergun tactical is area cone as well. Price is much different between these two area. 1d6 piercing, range 15, reload 1, hands 2, 6 projectiles. So this is the amount of ammo you can hold, I'm assuming. And then a scattergun advance, which is an area cone, 8 projectiles, and it does 2d6 piercing as opposed to the 1d6. Okay. Martial ranged roto laser. I kind of want to bring something up, but no, wait, you're going to see it in a page here. As soon as I saw the laser, there's laser wolves. Stellar cannon commercial area burst. Stellar cannon tactical area burst. Stellar cannon advanced area burst. Same thing, you have more projectiles in each one as you go up in cost, as well as the first 2 are 1d10 piercing, and the one that is level 4 is a 2d10 piercing. But in this one and in the scattergun, the scattergun was 15 range all the way around, but this cannon has a longer range as you get to tactical and advance. Projectile ammo, and batteries here. So let's kind of go back up here and kind of look at some of these things as far as the weapon goes. I don't want to go too far into this, but I don't want to go too little either. So if I'm boring anybody, please feel free to knock this off if you want to, or just tell me to. What I mean by that is just tell me to knock it off. But I'm super interested in this. Once again, because of the overlap with Pathfinder now. So they do have some updated equipment rules. The entry list, the weapon's damage die, and the type of damage it does. B for bludgeoning, P for piercing, S for slashing. Some weapons deal other damage types. A for acid, C for cold, E for electricity, F for fire, M for mental, PO for poison, and SO for sonic, to differentiate it from piercing and slashing. Hands, so multi-armed creatures have more than two hands, like Cathethas, can hold more items and weapons than typically expected. Performing actions with multiple pairs of arms concurrently is a challenge and can't be done without intensive training. You must designate a pair of hands as your active hands. You can change this designation from one pair of hands to another by taking the switch active hands action, which is an interact action. You can only attack with weapons wielded in your active hands. So I wonder if by having a multi-armed creature, if you could have a multi-armed creature with a two-handed axe, laser axe into Starfinder, we'll say. And then you could have another set of hands that is carrying two daggers, and you could use a single interact to switch instead of pulling out your daggers or putting back, or releasing. If you could just switch hands, and maybe it makes it quicker. That's a thought. Apparently I need to look into Starfinder a little bit more. Capacity, most weapons take batteries or have magazines. That makes sense, especially if once we start talking about laser things. The capacity of a weapon indicates how much ammunition it can hold. Yeah, charges represent battery-powered weapons and the highest capacity battery it can hold. Many flame weapons instead utilize petrol, which is sold in tanks and otherwise functions as batteries. Makes sense, just mechanically it's a battery. Most projectile weapons use magazines, which can hold a maximum number of cartridges. Yep. Depending on the weapon, cartridges can be bolts, darts, flechettes, rounds, or other ammunition. Most projectile weapons use rounds, while most injection weapons use darts. Okay, makes sense. Cartridges are purchased individually at a cost of 1 cartridge per credit. Note that this is separate from the capacity trait presented on page 150 of Pathfinder Guns and Gears. So there is a reference to Pathfinder Guns and Gears here, which I believe is on sale in the Paizo sale, and I don't have that book, so maybe I need to go buy that book, at least the PDF version of it, for the 23% or whatever it is. Usage indicates how much ammunition is consumed with each strike. Okay, so it could vary. Anytime the weapon is fired, its ammunition is lowered by the number indicated. I wonder if there's a way, kind of like some spells have it, where you can dedicate a single action, 1 round, 2 actions, 2 rounds, 3 actions, empty the magazine. I'd have to look at Guns and Gears, I'm guessing, on page 150. I will probably do that after this live here. Upgrades. They can be customized with upgrades to include technological weapon accessories and hybrid weapon fusions. This indicates how many upgrades a weapon can utilize. Sounds pretty good. So as far as weapon traits, there's analog, issues, advanced electronics computers, and electric power sources. Manufactured, calibrating, use advanced technology. Immune to abilities that target technology. So I'm guessing if you had a good old-fashioned year 2000 9mm pistol, that would probably be an analog weapon since it doesn't rely on technology. Weapon rules as found in Pathfinder don't function on this weapon unless the weapon also has the archaic trait. Okay, so Starfinder has to have the archaic trait for Pathfinder. When using the word, while the use of the word analog is not technically correct when referring to technology, use of the term in this way has become common through the Pact Worlds. Archaic, the weapon is created using traditional methods and materials, but not suitable for striking modern armor. Answers that question about the 9mm. All weapons for Pathfinder 2nd Edition have the archaic trait. Weapon runes, as found in Pathfinder, function normally with archaic weapons. When a creature with non-archaic armor takes damage from an archaic weapon, the creature gains resistance 10 against the attack. Resistance 10 against the attack. That is a lot of resistance. And I'm pausing here because I'm thinking retroactively. So if an archaic weapon does less damage against modern armor, it doesn't necessarily, so I'm not saying it's a 1-for-1, but would modern analog weapons do more damage against Pathfinder 2nd Edition players in the Lost Omens era of Galarian? would be interesting. We already went over area, so we'll go to automatic. In addition to normal strike, you can fire this weapon using the automatic fire action. I am assuming that that is going to just shoot more rounds downrange for the same action economy cost. Automatic fire, you hit each creature in a cone with a range equal to half the weapon's range increment. Any creature in the area must succeed at a basic reflex save because it's an area of effect attack against your class DC plus the tracking value of the weapon. Once again, in the parenthetical comment, you don't roll an attack roll. This damage is area damage. Creatures that critically fail this save are subject to the effects that occur on a critical hit with this weapon, including the weapon's critical specialization effect. Automatic fire has a usage equal to half of the weapon's maximum capacity. So if you have one of these scattergun with a capacity of 4 projectiles, you would use 2 projectiles if you were doing a automatic fire attack. I have like a dog hair clinging onto my glasses here. And there was concussive, smash as much as puncture. When determining a creature's resistance or immunity to damage from this weapon, use the weaker of the target's resistance or immunity to piercing or to bludgeoning. So you get to choose which one they are weaker to, which is a good thing. For instance, if the creature were immune to piercing and had no resistance or immunity to bludgeoning, it would take full damage from a concussive weapon because it could be piercing or it could be bludgeoning. Resistance or immunity to all physical damage or all damage would kind of take care of that though. So as long as they don't have that, you should be good. Tech, weapons with the tech trait incorporate electronics, computer systems, and power sources. Sometimes the weapons use such little energy that they can rely on integrated power sources, such as melee weapons that don't have a capacity. I'll look down on the weapons if there's something in there. I didn't necessarily see one of those, but while others drain batteries with attacks, weapon runes, as found in Pathfinder, don't function on these weapons. So we have the archaic trait, which seemed kind of like a downer, but the upside to that is tech weapons can't use Pathfinder 2nd edition things. So maybe that kind of balances out some of the interplay between Pathfinder 2nd edition and Starfinder 2nd edition. Oh, and then here's that unwieldy trait we saw. Weapons with this trait are large and awkward, can't be fired without cooling down first, or otherwise difficult to use with repeated attacks. You can't use an unwieldy weapon more than once per round and can't use it to strike as part of a reaction, such as punitive strike. Now up here we saw, I'm not going to search forever because that would be boring for everyone. But here it is. You can make a second strike on your primary target, ignoring the effect of the unwieldy trait that prevents additional attack. So if you take this 4th level feat, Punishing Salvo, and use the action, then this little part here doesn't apply to you. You can't use it to strike as part of a reaction such as punitive strike. Yep, because this is Punishing Salvo. Okay, critical specialization effects with lasers. The target must succeed a fortitude save against your class DC or be dazzled. And dazzled is a lot worse of a condition than people think it is. The name makes it sound like you're at a rave, but it does a little bit more. And then projectile, the target must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or be slowed 1 until the end of your next turn. Slowed 1 is brutal. Actually, slowed condition is brutal. I guess it just kind of depends. Then simple range weapons, laser pistol. Trusty sidearm of most interstellar travelers, laser pistol has an untold number of makes and models across the galaxy. Work in tandem with compact batteries to unleash pinpoint shots of directed energy at their intended targets. Lower end models tend to gobble up battery charges, while higher end models trade overall capacity for increased damage. So pretty cool scattergun, as I'm guessing a shotgun. Appears just as frequently on backwater planets without a burgeoning industry as they do at the foundries at the heart of the Pack World's most advanced societies. Unleashes a spray of tiny projectile shells that wither nearby targets with the force of their impact. Sounds like a shotgun. Martial range weapons, a rotolaser. Moving array of lenses. This weapon also uses a rotating set of barrels to allow for a series of short laser blasts to an area. Can unleash a blistering hail of fire or be calibrated to fire single shots in short succession without worrying about depleting ammunition. They straddle the line between being a full area suppression weapon and a tactical rifle, though paying for that price in weight. So this might be one of the ones they were talking about that didn't have a battery. With this line here, fire single shots in short succession without worrying about depleting ammunition. So stellar cannon, portable handheld cannon, built to be reliable and rugged in combat environments. Going to take a little sip here real quick. Unleashes heavy shells fired with dense flechettes that tear apart foes caught in its burst to ensure optimal usage in the most chaotic of environments. The stellar cannon eschews many technological components, instead relying on its wielder to provide most of the aiming. Pretty cool. Credits and currency. So the currency of Pack World and Starfinder overall is the credit. I'm not going to read this whole thing. Not every civilization uses Pack credit as a space of currency. Many have converted over. Where it hasn't been converted over, an agreement in place to determine relative worth of credit compared to local currency. They are a combination of both digital and physical currency. One person might contain all their credits in a digital data crypt that is guarded by the most strenuous of protections and authenticated, blah, blah, blah. Another person might keep their wealth on privately minted plastic chips that have been magically enhanced to contain a specific ore that can be authenticated by basic device capable of scanning currency. Okay. Standard currency is the credit, and all items in the document are priced in credits. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, standard currency is gold pieces. So 10 credits equal 1 gold piece. So basically a silver. Cred sticks. Keep their wealth on a protected item known as a cred stick. So I guess it's like your debit card. Flatten roughly the size of a human finger. So a stick, that is a debit card. Or just your RFID or chip on your thing. Means of conveniently carrying and spending money. They aren't gateways to the entirety of one's wealth. Larger stores of credit are often kept secured in banks. So it's basically a debit card and you set it up to an account. I think. I'm just saying that without ever having played Starfinder. Individuals in the Pack world keep cred sticks on them, and other civilizations that interact with the Pact often convert local funds into credits and keep a cred stick on them with converted gains. If ever the number of cred sticks on a person becomes too much, it's easy enough to move the funds between sticks. Okay. Sounds interesting. A picture of a laser pistol and a picture of a roto laser, which just kind of sounds awesome and looks like exactly what you'd think a roto laser would imply just by the term roto laser. Creatures. When I was paging through this earlier, I love the creatures. I can't see them working in Pathfinder. They didn't mention during the keynote that, you could take some of these creatures and put them directly in your story. Computer glitch gremlin, negative creature, -1. Stats wise would fit. You could put a narrative story on this and kind of put a little flavor on it to maybe have it fit. They can communicate telepathically with digital devices and with other creatures that can do so, such as other glitch gremlin. Attempt computer checks to access. So I don't know how a computer glitch gremlin would work in Pathfinder since there's no computers. But I could definitely see you flavoring it, and really needs to trim his nails. New condition is glitching. Okay, this might transfer over to Pathfinder as well. Glitching is a condition that affects objects or creatures with a tech trait, and it always includes a value. Glitching creature object experiences a combination of debilitating effects and moments of seizing up. So if you have glitching equipment, take any action involving that equipment. So you basically a DC 10 flat check. A little bit better than the DC 11s we see sometimes to see what occurs. If you have the glitching, if we're doing meets or beats, DC 10 is better than DC 11. If you have the glitching condition on yourself, you must make a flat check. But what does glitching do? A combination of debilitating effects and moments of seizing up. Okay, here it is. You take an item, so failure, you take an item penalty on all your checks and DCs equal to your glitching value. So if you're glitching 1, it's a -1, glitching 2, -2. Critical failure, you're kind of stunned 1. This is what I was looking for. I was trying to figure out what glitching actually did. Alternatively, the object you tried to use doesn't function and you lose the action you took to attempt to use it. Okay, here's the cool one. Oh, and they actually have a little section here, Pathfinder Laser Wolves. I need to look that up. Tashtari, medium beast. Love the look of a laser wolf. Bristle flash, muzzle beam. Native to the green world of Castravel, the Tashtari have become known throughout the wider galaxy as the laser wolf. Pack hunters, just like a lot of wolves are. Silently communicate through a bespoke visual language. Okay, emit phosphorescent lights. I missed that part of it. So they can silently communicate, possess a node within its throat that allows it to channel its stored solar energy and unleash a beam of focused light, giving the species their moniker of laser wolves. So we do vitamin D from sunshine and they do laser beams. Mating pair comprised of 1 or 2 alphas, lead pack of Tashtaris, which generally become the apex predators of large areas that include 1 or more forested regions. Presence of trees is important for the nocturnal Tashtaris, and they use them to sleep atop during the day, basking in sunlight to recharge their solar energy. So they are awake at night and they sleep in the treetops in order to get as much sun as possible. I love them and I want one, and I want to fight one maybe Sunday or Monday in one of my stories. I might bring it up to one of the GMs. Then we have the Tashtari Alpha, which is part of that mating pair. What do they have? Solar Cry. A searing rainbow erupts from the Tashtari's alpha's mouth as it throws back its head to unleash a powerful muzzle beam that soars into the sky. The beam then splits into countless rays of multicolored light that crash down in every direction, dealing 4d6 fire damage to each non-Tashtari in a 20-foot emanation. DC 19 basic reflex save. Critically fails its save, is also dazzled for a minute. Other Tashtaris in the area recharge their daily use of Bristle Flash. Tashtari Alpha's glowing heart dims and it can't use this ability until it recharges by basking in the sunlight for at least an hour. So, single use. And unlike the Brittle Flash, they can do theirs for basking for 10 minutes. This is basking in sunlight for 1 hour. Let's go ahead and read Pathfinder Laser Wolves. So since Tashtaris originated from Castrovel, they're in the same solar system as Galarion and make for a particularly unique encounter in Pathfinder games due to the existence of magical portals and other strange events that link Galarion to other worlds. By the way, they were talking about Pathfinder Society with the intro to the year of unfettered exploration. We're going to be going to a hedge maze that has portals to all over Galarion, planes, and worlds. So there's a reason to have laser wolves in Pathfinder. Entirely possible to include a portal to Castrovel that allows for the migration of a pack of Tashtaris into the region that might otherwise not be found in. Typical pack of Tashtaris consists of anywhere between 3 to 12 Tashtaris and 1 or 2 alphas. The alphas lead the pack, and typically one is active in daytime to protect the pack from its intruders. So one might not be able to use Bristle Flash or Solar Cry, but it's probably not the alpha, so Solar Cry is probably always on the table. But as a GM, you'd have to kind of make note in your head that one of them and pick one that couldn't use their Bristle Flash, unless they had 10 minutes of basking in the sunlight beforehand. And that is the end of the Starfinder preview. I am literally going to do a screen cap of this particular page, and I'm going to send it to one of the GMs I play with and see if we can't do a Tashtari battle at some point this weekend, because I'm going to be loving that. So super excited about this whole Starfinder playtest and about the possibility of the cross-compatibility between this and Pathfinder. It actually might give me more impetus to get involved in Starfinder. there was that Humble Bundle was it a month ago? About a month ago with the Starfinder things in it. And I got it. So I have all the books. My little digital library on Paizo.com is huge because of all the Starfinder stuff. All right. Hey, Jefferson, I appreciate you coming. I'll be doing the summaries this whole entire weekend for each one. Usually come about 2 hours after each one is done, simply because of the time it takes to record. But the other reason is I uploaded the summary today for one of them for the keynote, and it took like 60 minutes for YouTube to process, and it was at 360p. Yes, 360p for that whole entire hour. And I'll probably let it process before I publish it. But thank you for coming, Jefferson. I appreciate it. Now, the only other thing I can possibly think of to go over today, and I'm kind of interested in it, and I'm a little bit excited about it, but I didn't get it done before this particular live because it's only my third live. Prior to this, I'm doing the basic math. Third live, so I did 2 before this, and I've been I realize that this setup is a bit janky, and you've probably seen this little stream elements thing up here because yes, I've been playing with some stream element stuff in order to make everything look a little bit better. I had something that I'm not 100% happy with, but I thought I could go with and kind of come out, and it's not going to be the final. Matter of fact, even the theme of it might not necessarily be final, but this is kind of what I'm working on. Oh, the chat did work. Initially, this was not working earlier. Okay, well, this is going to be how, once again, I like the background. I want to do a gradient. I like lighter setups. On my phone, I love a dark theme, because, it's easier in your eyes. But on Pages, I kind of like white because it looks a little bit cleaner. I do want to have the captions. This little captions module I got for OBS is fantastic. And I actually saw it on Twitter about 2 or 3 months ago where someone was basically saying, and it's true if you actually look on it, for live streams on YouTube, you don't get captions. So people who are hearing impaired or have problems processing some auditory information can get lost on live. So I wanted to keep this particular caption thing going. That's why I like the light background. It's a little bit easier to read. But it looks like the chat was working, which I didn't think it was before. So that's fantastic. That's less I have to figure out. And then there is also, I'm rolling around on my screen and I realize, because I'm looking at my OBS and you guys can't see that, but you can see what's going on the stream. So right now we're kind of looking at my picture. The elements in the upper left, I'm not entirely sure about. I do like the white. I do like the gradient with a picture from the map of a river crossing. I do like having the chat over on the right. And then when if I was doing the Starfinder field test, basically I'd have my video window down here in the lower left, as well as putting that chat up there. I do plan on having some type of alert set up. I don't plan on doing the tipping thing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing the tipping thing, but if there aren't I'm not to a point where that's even a consideration. And if I did do a tipping thing, I kind of in my head, I'm thinking that would be more for charity if I do charity stuff. That's not coming anytime soon. I don't want anybody to worry about that or think about, oh, he's going to start asking me for money. No, I'm not. I am a self-realized smaller YouTube person who just started a few months ago, so I'm not anywhere near somewhere that I could do something along those lines. However, I did want to make it a little bit more fun, especially for this particular one here with the Starfinder playtest, as well as the keynote that we just had. I want to do things like maybe put a poll in the chat and let people interact with the polls in the chat. And when someone comes on, maybe have a little alert that says, hey, welcome, so on and so forth. Make it a little bit more active, make it a little bit more fun, make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more professional. So I am working on upgrading kind of the experience on these live chats, as well as there are some things even on the channel itself. I don't like the thumbnail for the lives because it looks too close to some of the other thumbnails that I do. And I try to keep the coloring of the thumbnails different so it's easy visually to see whether you are looking at a quick tip or whether you're looking at a guide or whether you're looking at a news summary, or whether you're looking at an opinion, you know just by looking at the color of the thumbnail what kind of video that is going to be. And the live colors kind of confuse the issue a bit since they're multicolored a little bit, but generally green themed. And I'm working on how to make those look different while kind of keeping in with the whole theme of the site a little bit. Oh, and the other big thing I want to talk about, let's switch back to the main window in this new thing now that I know the chat was working. That's annoying because I would have had this up the whole time because this looks better than the other thing. Anyways, so I do have music commissioned. Now, for the beginning, the starting soon thing, and I'm going to be changing the starting soon with a countdown so it's a little bit more visible, and going to have commissioning some. So here's what the commission worked out to be after talking to the artist that I'm paying to do the music is it is Final Fantasy 14-esque with a little bit of lo-fi thrown in there. So I kind of wanted a nice kind of chill cinematic type thing without going full on kitschy medieval. That's what the music, that's what the remit was for the commission for the music. So that's going to be started on the 6th, and it should be done. Basically, the drop dead date is 14 days, but it should be done in less than that. And then there are a couple other things I'd like to do. I would really like to get so you have my logo there on the right-hand side, and I was looking to do some type of scene, maybe get a full body with that style of art of a combat or sitting in a bar or something. I mean, basically, I just want, I want to update the graphics of these lives so it looks a little bit more professional. Maybe make it a little bit easier for people to watch, because easier on the eyes, I guess. And I always want to try to improve these things. I just yesterday, I went back and I looked at some of my first videos, and even some of the ones that were, once again, I've only been doing this since March, so it's not like I've been doing this forever, but even some of the ones from 3-4 months ago or 2 months ago, there's one, so bad. So you have your lighting. I have a bunch of lights over here, and you can, let's go ahead and screw it up. I can go ahead and make it feel warm, but instead it makes me look like I have a jaundice or something along those lines, which that's fine if that's what you would like. But I'm getting better at my lighting. I need to, basically, I think my video production is getting better. I think my audio is getting better. I still need a few things to work on. I have a Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'm using a pod mic, a Rode pod mic here. And I'm still fiddling with settings a little bit, and still fiddling with my audio settings in DaVinci Resolve Studio, which is what I use for videos. So I'm always trying to kind of improve this kind of stuff. Big sidetrack. The whole reason why I'm even saying this is I'm trying to improve the graphics on these lives. I'm trying to improve the graphics on the thumbnails, and trying to make everything fit into categories that I think makes it easier for people to enjoy the channel, because you know what you're getting as soon as you get into it. And if we are doing something like a live, I don't want it super busy where there's tons of things going on, but it'd be nice if there was a little bit more interaction rather than just listen to me talk for what is now an hour and 8 minutes. And that's kind of where we are as a channel. I do have let's see there's a couple other things, then we'll kind of close it down. I still feel like I'm a little bit warm. By that, I mean the color temperature. There's a few other things I can say. So we're going to be doing the summaries of these Gen Con Paizo things for the rest of the whole weekend. I'm actually off tomorrow, so I took vacation, so I can go ahead and do a video quickly after that one comes out. And then, as opposed to trying to cram it into my lunch, and then I can go ahead and upload those. I also have a Pathfinder Infinite independent creator review coming out. It's actually pretty much ready, but because of Gen Con and because of some travel that occurred by the author earlier in the week, I kind of don't want to overshadow the independent creator by putting it out during the same time as Gen Con. So that'll be coming out next week. And then more of the same of the other stuff. I'm looking to do a little bit more interesting things. Once again, we're going to be doing some more of the playthrough examples using Foundry. Once again, using the different maps and different situations in order to explain specifically the core concept of what we're working on for that particular video, but also tying in, but we're going to be flanking here because such and such, and you have somebody on either side of a plane and you're not crossing a corner. Basically, the playthroughs are to check a main theme and then also show rules that also are applicable and how it would work in an actual combat to string a bunch of things together to give yourself and your party the main advantage. Anyways, my whole point in bringing this up is more of those videos are coming out, and I kind of like them. They are a little bit more time consuming simply because the editing on them is weirder. And the reason why they're weirder is I'll do a video and I'll get to a point I don't like what I said, so I'll pause and then I'll re-speak whatever the segment it was. I don't necessarily use scripts. I use kind of like a bulleted list and speak off that, so the sentences might not be exactly the same, but that's easy because I can just pause for 2 or 3 seconds. I can see that pause in the audio and edit really quickly. Now, when you're doing it on a Foundry or something, there might be 45 seconds when you're not speaking because a series of clicks and things are occurring on the screen. So those ones are super weird to edit, and I'll get better at them as I go. And it's one thing I really like about how this experience has been is I kind of feel like I'm getting better slowly. But I appreciate everybody who is here and who has been kind of like sticking with me through these 5 months as things are getting better and more stuff. Heck, we're coming up on 150 videos. Probably by the end, actually, it's not even probably. We're going to be at the end of this week, and we're going to be at 150 videos from March 3rd until now. And that is, that's pretty good. But I do think at this point we've been doing this for about an hour and 13 minutes, and this closing will take a few. So I do think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this live out. I do appreciate anybody who came to live and, put some comments in. Once again, I appreciate Jefferson for the comments, and anybody who's watching this afterwards, feel free to go ahead and come on the lives. It will be a little bit better as we go further and further on, as I'm developing new things and putting new things into these lives, as well as I hope to make them more interactive and talk more questions that the viewers have so I can kind of help you guys out with as much knowledge as I have. And once again, I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist. I'm not there yet, but I do my best. And if I don't know the answer, I will try and find it out for you. But with all that being said, I'm going to go into my ending spiel and say, you know what? I hope you liked it. And if you did, do that, like, subscribe, or hit the notification bell as new things come out. You kind of got to say that every time. It's part of the script they give you when you open a YouTube channel. They don't, but I just thought that was funny. But regardless of all that, I hope you guys have a good day. Happy adventuring. Thanks for coming. Oh, hey, Raven's Path. It's all recorded. I'll go ahead and say this for you. It's all recorded. It's all pretty good. We kind of went over the keynote. We went over the new Starfinder playtest, and we kind of introduced this new little theme halfway through. But Raven's Path, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll be here next Thursday, and we'll also be doing one of these, probably not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, kind of early afternoon, my time, for other parts of the world. Anyways, you guys all have a great day. Happy adventuring, and thank you. Bye.